In Mass Effect Andromeda, the first friendly race you encounter are the Angara. Although they are extremely distrustful after you more or less invade their planet, albeit an emergency landing, you eventually gain their trust as well as allegiance. The Angara are the only known sapient race native to the Helios cluster. Their believed homeworld is Havar. By the time the initiative arrives in Helios and makes first contact with them, it is revealed that they have been at war with the Ket for about 75 years. They are warm-blooded mammals with fleshy folds on the sides of their head. Every Angara has 2 black eyes with blue irises and a single pair of nostrils, as well as 4 or 5 fingers on each hand. Their body shows relatively broad shoulders, with narrow waists and a leg structure similar to Quarian or Turians. While male Angara are larger, the females of their race have wider hips and a rounder face. Skin colors consist of various shades of jungle, among them blue, sometimes shading over into green. Angaran blood has a deep blue color. Every living organism produces a natural bioelectrical field, yet those of the Angara are especially strong and they are shown to exercise great control of it, for example as a means of communication. Their physiology is dependent on sunlight, with the lack of real or artificial sunlight causing them to go dark, significantly weakening their immune system and bioenergy. In places where there is no sunlight readily available, they supplement using UV lamps that provide them both with warmth and light. Although the warmth is not necessary. They seem to be rather resistant to cold, as shown by some Angara that prefer to live on the ice-covered planet of Vold rather than sunny tropical Aya. According to the Angara themselves, they hail from their homeworld Havar, a lush jungle planet that shows signs of maladaptive plant growth pattern, indicating that something is wrong with its ecology. As we discover later on, similar to Habitat 7, that seemed to be the cause of a malfunctioning vault. After activating it correctly, the jungles are shown signs of recovery. And although there are ruins of Angaran cities all across Havar, it is not their place of origin. On the station of Kitasira, we find out that they have been created by the Jardan and placed on Havar as well as other planets. According to the Angara themselves, they were a highly advanced species that spread to many worlds before the Scourge was let loose in Helios. It ruined their worlds and sent their species into a sort of dark age that lasted an entire century. The Angara of 5 planets, among them Havar and Vold, eventually rediscovered spaceflight and established connections with the others once more. They learned that the time of isolation had created completely differing cultures, yet they began expanding together and colonized the planets of Kadara and Aya. Afterwards, they made efforts to establish a new, unified government. The Ket invasion of Helios that began in 2744 interrupted the rebuilding Angara, and no recordings from the first contact with them survived, so there are no clear facts how it all started. It is however believed that the Ket, after tricking them into thinking their allies, played the Angara against each other by overtures of peace and friendship on one planet, while at the same time assassinating the leadership of another. This eventually led to infighting between them, which the Ket took as an advantage and expanded their occupation. By the time the Angara realized that the Ket were the true enemies, it was too late. Their space fleet and military had been destroyed already, and even the efforts of multiple resistance groups turned out to be fruitless. After the arrival of the initiative, a splinter group called the Rokar was provoked by the welcoming attitude towards the aliens that lent their aid to the resistance. It was founded by the Angara Aksul, out of resentment for the resistance and the hatred for the Ket. The Angara as a people are entirely open with their feelings. According to Jal, they have more trouble hiding their emotions rather than showing them. Their loved ones are given hugs, while the people they hate are given punches, which also extends to their own family members. While they only have one true mother and father, like you or me, or maybe you have 2 mothers or 2 fathers, I'm not judging, the Angara share their parents with the community, resulting in large families consisting of multiple mothers and lots of siblings or cousins, which play a large role in their lives. They are understandably distrustful towards outsiders, resulting from the last species they encountered, namely the Ket, enslaving or killing them by the thousands. Not much is known about the Angaran religions, besides the fact that all of them share the same basic tenet, that when an Angara dies, they are reincarnated. The reincarnated souls stay within the family, strengthening their lineage. It's worth noting that the Moshai, who is part scientific genius, part cultural icon, is treated with an almost religious reverence by everyday Angara. Although the Angara have between 200 and 300 different languages, which is impressive, their most common language is Shelesh, which was developed in the early days of Angaran spaceflight before the Scourge. It faded when their civilization collapsed, but has recently been revived after the separated settlements have re-established connections. Notable and known Shellaish words include Pavoa, welcome, a common Angaran greeting, Tavetan, a friend or trusted comrade, and finally the most useful one, Scott, meaning fuck. Moshai Sefia. As mentioned before, the Moshai is for the most part a scientist, as well as a cultural icon, likely resulting from her technological innovations. Said innovations were instrumental in construction of Aya's capital city. Her analysis of the cat have significantly slowed their conquest of the Helios cluster by uncovering their tactics and goals for decades. From what Jal, as a former student of hers, remembers, the Moshai dislikes her celebrity status and prefers to work in solitude and peace. Unlike most Angara, the Moshai doesn't hail from a large family and claims she has never married or born children, instead turning her attention to unraveling the mystery of remnant technology. Jal Amadara, former student of the Moshai and high-ranking member of the Resistance. Jal hails from a famous family which could explain his high-ranking status, although he's more than capable in a fight on his own. At first, he joins Ryder and their team as an observer for the Resistance, but later grows closer with the team and starts to enjoy their company a great deal. He is shown to enjoy tinkering and caring a lot about the well-being of his team, as shown by a chat between him and Ryder, where he asks whether or not the gifts he plans for them are a good idea or not. Among them, a personalized poem for Vetra and a traditional Angaran dagger for Drak. Although many Angara are distrustful of the outsiders at first, Jal seems to find the thought of joining them to be a great opportunity to learn more about each other, even resulting in a romance with Ryder if pursued by the player. According to Jal, food from the Milky Way tastes bland. Efra de Tershav. This rather unfriendly, if not outright xenophobic Angara is the leader of the resistance forces. Efra is a skilled tactician and extremely proud, as shown that he is offended when Ryder offers their help after landing on Aya for the first time. He joined the, at the time, disorganized and ineffectual group after his family was taken by the cat, and wanted to turn it into the effective army it aspired to be. His dedication became clear when he led a successful raid on an enemy labor camp, freeing hundreds of these people before killing an entire battalion of Ket. According to Jal, Efra is feared by members of the Resistance, while at the same time respected by the Angaran leaders. Yet he remains an isolated individual and keeps no close ties, thinking that everyone in the Resistance is expendable. This leaves the speculating bit. First off, where will the true origin of them leave the Angara? As writers said themselves, this could shatter people's worldview, which is a solid point, considering that for hundreds of years they believed that they evolved on the planet of Avara. Finding out that they were not, as believed, naturally superior to the other animals, but instead genetically tailored to someone else's needs must be frustrating to find out. Although in the case of Jal, he finds it not heartbreaking but exciting. Knowing that they have a part to play in a plan that could perhaps span galaxies drives him forward, wanting to find out what that plan is and what their part in it is. Still, how will the other Angara react? Although the team apparently told the Moshai about it all, and despite the people's love for her, would they even believe her? Imagine if someone told you today that humans had not evolved through millions of years but were made in pods on a space station. Would you believe them? Would you brand them as completely mental, or would you ask for proof? All of those are questions that can be reflected on the Angara. Despite the fact that they do have proof of it, it would be hard to get all of Aya, Volt and Havar onto one station to see for themselves. And even so, all they would see would be pods with Angara in them. The proof that they are genetic templates was translated by Sam. If we think about the hate for AI on the Nexus alone, there would probably be more than a few among them that would simply dismiss it as a bug or as some translation error. That the Jardan did not create them, but just let the cat kidnap and experiment on Angara and simply vilify them as well. It's easy for us to believe that they were created because we heard it from Sam himself, and we know that Sam would not betray Ryder for the sake of himself and his respect for Alec. Yet all the Angara see is an unshackled, fully sapient AI, capable of lying, like the one the team can find on Volt. All these are questions I hope we will get answers to. It will be interesting to see if there will be splinter groups among the Angara claiming that what they saw on Kitasira is nothing more than another injustice done to their race for the sake of another. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, I would love for you to support me by liking, commenting or subscribing if you want to. Cheers again, and I will see you in the next one.
Stay strong and clear.